Good afternoon. I see a lot of familiar faces, so who knows me already? Put your hand up. About 40%, so I still have to introduce myself, right? So in brief, my name is Fernando Lourenço, and I normally work in the UK, but every year I come here to teach entrepreneurship and creativity and ideas generation. This year, you guys are creating a creativity event, so you guys invited me to do a little talk to promote creative thinking. So that's why I'm here. And moreover, for those who are a bit confused about my face and my name, so I'm very sure it happens all the time. So and I'm sure you wonder, why is it in Portuguese but he looks Chinese? Yeah. So my parents are mixed race, so that's why I've got a Portuguese name. So I've got a bit of Portuguese, Singaporean, Chinese, and Mecanese. So that's why I didn't buy it from eBay. So that's a bit of background about me. But in brief. I've got background in design and education, and I also, apart from teaching, I also got my consultancy in Macau and a social enterprise doing good stuff for society. So this is what I do, but mainly my job is always about generating ideas or helping people to find ideas and solutions. So I am the catalyst, I am the stimulator. Yeah? I go into people's brain and I massage the brain, and usually I help them to come up with better ideas. So this is what I do normally. It's a fun job, so I love what I do. So today's presentation, although it's about creativity, I have divided it into two parts. So the first part, I would like to tell you why creativity or why being creative is important. But then there are so many different areas we can link creativity to. But today, the place that I will relate it to is employability. So how does it relate to you when you graduate? Yeah? Or how does it relate to you when you become a practitioner? So I will want to give you a reason why creativity is important within that particular aspect. And later on, after you know why it is important, I'll show you or I'll give you some good and useful questions for you to think about after this particular seminar. So hopefully you'll be thinking all night and not sleeping until tomorrow morning. You will have a lot of inspiration. And after the first part, then I will move on to talk about the main part, which is how to manipulate the way we think. So I will open the brain, and then I will tell you how the brain works through a story to tell you how we think and how outcomes are generated via our thinking. And then I will show you 3 strategies you can adopt, very simple stuff. And hopefully you can adopt one of those ones to create better outcomes via your thinking. So it is not like magic, it's not just for the special one, everybody can do it. And it's not difficult, yeah? Everybody can be creative as long as we know the tricks. And our brain will do the job for you because we have a very powerful brain. Yeah? So hopefully we'll get a volunteer to come out here, then I'll open the brain and we get to see more about the thinking. So I guess it'll be him over there. Yeah? Agree? Yes, good. So now let me kick start. So now why being enterprising? Why does it matter? Because I don't want to say why being creative, because being creative is just part of being more enterprising. Yeah? There are a lot more things around being enterprising. So why does it matter? Now I will use a story to tell you about this particular area. So it is about my latest movie called Scary Movie, The Economic Crisis. Yeah, I bet you like my dress. Yeah, over there, it's quite cool. So now, I think the economic crisis happened in 2008, and it affected quite a lot of businesses. Yeah, and I'm sure when you watch the news, a lot of businesses are going down. They are failing. And some are just managing to survive, they are hanging on. But as they are hanging on, they have to be better, they have to streamline, they have to cut a lot of spending, improve the operation, and therefore cut a lot of jobs, yeah? Make a lot of people redundant. Yeah? And of course, there is not always a bad situation. And by having the economic crisis, there is also the reborn of a lot of new companies. They have to adapt and do better. So they are continue to change and to innovate. Yeah? So they are reborning, like this particular creature over here. So he is adapting. And moreover, there is also the birth of the new. Yeah? Because when there is something dying, there is also something appearing. Yeah? So this is a scenario. And as in when there are businesses failing, of course there will be people getting the sack. So for this reason, it creates created a global unemployment issue, crisis. So in the whole world, there's around 200 million unemployed. Yes, very depressing. And in Lithuania, it's actually getting better. I think 2 years ago, 3 years ago, unemployment was about 18%. And this early quarter, it's down to 13.9. So actually, you guys are doing quite good, quite well, creating jobs. Yeah. So there's about 250,000 unemployed. But there's a problem. Because graduates, the graduate market is actually going up. So there is actually more and more graduates graduating, trying to find jobs. And at the same time, you know, the jobs are kind of, you know, it's not at its optimum level. For this reason, the job market is very competitive. Yeah? If you look around you, around you, you are all competitors fighting for those jobs. Yeah? So, now, what are you going to do about it? Yeah, there's a problem. How are you going to deal with this situation? So maybe some of you might get angry. Yeah, like what I did with my colleagues. Yeah, last year in the summer we went to protest. Yeah, we got very angry. We started to burn buildings, kick windows and doors. Yeah, to show the government how angry we are. Or you can just cry. Yeah, I hate this crap. Yeah, or you accept fate and let fate decide your destiny. According to the Chinese, your future is written in your palm. Yeah? By reading your palm, you get to see whether you have babies, how many babies, is it a boy or girl? You can see your career, how long you live, whether you have a happy life, whether you are intelligent. Yeah? Do you believe it? Well, I don't. Or what you can do is to act creatively and to make yourself fit to to meet this particular situation. So then you may ask yourself, then how do I become fit? And I'm sure a lot of strong guys here will be thinking, okay, I go to the gym. Yeah, that's how I get my muscle. But apart from physical fitness, how about the brain fitness? So then what do you have to do? So I argued there is about 3 strategies you can enhance your employability. The first one is, of course, like what you guys are doing here, is to improve your general knowledge and skill. That's why you are doing a particular degree in management, in marketing, economics, and etc. And then I think what you can do, or should do, I say, is to also gain a set of industry-specific knowledge, yeah, and skills. So for this reason, when you kind of graduate, you can target specific jobs, specific sectors, yeah. And moreover, finally, this is the important part. You should also gain and develop a set of soft skills that will meet the current kind of economic conditions. And in a recent survey in the UK, a lot of employers, they are kind of struggling to employ graduates because they argue that they lack a lot of soft skills. So what it means is that they know stuff. They have a lot of knowledge. They know about management. They know, you know, in theory, how to manage people and etc. But they lack the people skills. So they are just a book. Yeah, they're not a person yet. Yeah, for a lot of traditional university, the first 2 is what they do. However, now there is a recent kind of a need for university to develop the skills of people, soft skills. And now I've got some examples, and creativity is one of those skills. Being creative, but I got some more. For example, dealing with uncertainty, being able to identify or create innovative thinkings, have good communication skills, being more motivated, yeah, so you don't need people to push you to do stuff, you will do it by yourself. And for this reason, it links to being more autonomous, yeah, you don't need your parents or your teachers or your friends to ask you to do this and therefore you do it, yeah. So, or able to operationalize ideas, able to do research, able to work with people, and able to network, solve problems, and etc. So there is quite a lot of skills you can develop, yeah, and creativity, it's one of those big skills. Now, if you develop yourself around those 3 aspects, I argued, then you will be fit for 4 types of jobs. For example, like I said before, for the ones that are dying, then what you can do for those organizations is to teach them to do better, to help them to do better next time. Yeah? When you fail, it's not the end of the world. Learn from failure, do it again. Yeah, like in America. They argue that you only become successful after you bankrupt a few times. Yeah? But in Europe, after failure is just the end of the world. You are a loser. Yeah? But it is not really the case. If we look at nature, if we look at reality, we all learn by making mistakes. But then why in schools or in university, failure, it's wrong. Yeah? We all learn from failure. It's okay. You have to accept it. Yeah? And then let's say after you get fit, then you can also help organizations to hanging on. For those who are hanging on, of course, you can go in to help them to adapt, to help them to adjust, yeah? To help them to find better ways to do what they do, so therefore they do better. Or you can go into those companies who are trying to reborn themselves. So you can lead them to change, you can help them to find innovative ideas to allow them to do what they do, but do it better. Yeah? Incremental to radical innovation. And then finally, you can also help the entrepreneurs to create the new stuff out. You can help entrepreneurs during that journey of finding ideas, evaluating, operationalizing, and exploiting business ideas. And finally, if you can't find a job, what do? Cry? No. Create your own job. Yeah? If you can't find one, why don't you make your own? And at the same time, you make jobs for others. You can all do that, can't you? It's all in here. Yeah? Everybody out there have the same as you. They have all the same thing. And, oh, it doesn't work. So, what is next? I've got a number of questions you can think about. You don't need to have answers right now. Maybe you can think about it tonight after a few drinks. I don't know. Whatever you like. So, now 2 options. First one is find a job. But what job? Yeah? It annoys me sometimes when I ask my students. I say, okay, what are you going to do after you graduate? Get a job. What job? A job. But if you just want a job, then where do you start? You just get anything that's available. But of course you can get anything that is available, but will you like it? I don't know. So you are just letting the external environment to mold your destiny. So you're not controlling it. Yeah? So another option is create your own job. Yeah? Oh, start a business, I'll be an entrepreneur. But what opportunity? I don't know, just start something. But if you start like this, you just sit on your chair forever. So if you want to start a business, then ask yourself, what opportunity? Where can I find the opportunity? What do I like? What do I know? Yeah? Is there a gap? Is there a trend? What's going to happen in the future? So you got to ask yourself those questions. Be more specific, and therefore you know where to start. If it is too vague, you just can't start. You just sit there, wonder. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. So let's say after you have answers to those 2 questions, then the next step is, what do I need to learn in order to achieve it? And how can I apply my learning to achieve those stuff? And I guess while you are here in the university, you can always ask those questions. And I'm sure sometimes you sit in some lectures, I bet you wonder, why am I learning this crap? Yeah? How can I use it? I think it is up to you to find meaning to whatever you learn. Yeah? So the lecturer, they only provide the tools. You need to be the one who gives meanings to those learning. So that's why you need to ask those questions. What do I need to learn and how can I apply it in order to allow me to achieve those 2 things? Yeah? So you have to take full control. So don't blame us, blame yourself. Okay? So now after you do it, after you answer those 4 questions, then motivation will be generated. Yeah? And the invisible hand will be created to pull you towards that particular vision. And actions will be generated, will be created. You'll be starting to move forward. Without that invisible hand, there is no motivation. You just sit there, wonder, get a job. Yeah, I'll be an entrepreneur, but I don't know where to start. But if you manage to identify answers for those 4, then that will come out. Yeah, trust me, it will, literally. Yeah. So now you don't need to think about it yet. Yeah. But after this class, maybe during the next few weeks or years, yeah, think about it. If not, external environment will mold your destiny. If you don't, although you can kind of, you have to struggle and then you have to fight against the external forces, but then at least you are trying something to mold your destiny. Yeah. Believe in yourself. It's all here. Yeah. So now, for this reason, you need to think creatively about this whole journey. Yeah? If you don't, if you just say, oh, just get a job and I'll just check what's available, I'll just do it. That's not being creative about your future. You got to explore a lot of options. Yeah? Identify a lot of different strategies and then do something about it. So later on, of course, I'll show you different strategies and approaches to allow you to manipulate your thinking in order to create better outcomes. So after all, if you think creatively, a scary movie, it's not really that scary. Yeah, and I'm sure for those who watch this movie, it's actually quite funny and cool. Yeah, so it's not always what it seems. So, oh, maybe I'll have some water. So now this is my next part. So after telling you, why it's useful to be creative, now I'll show you how we think and how outcomes are generated. So we'll be cracking our head open. So volunteer, can you come out here and somebody give me a hammer so I can start the operation? Yeah? Okay. So now, how are outcomes generated in our brain? So in brief, for students who've been to my class, you are a bit familiar with this model. So in brief, there is a world, yeah, things which is out here. And then there is us, which is being, we are connected to the world. So there is also a lot of actions, we gain experience from doing stuff, from trying things, we learn. There is culture, we have society, we have people around us, we all learn from each other. So by experiencing the world, information will be generated, right? So we try something, we learn something. So then within our brain, all those information will make connections, and those connections will lead us to finding knowledge, answers, yeah? And then the more we ask, the more information we pump in. For example, when I'm younger, I see something very sharp like this, yeah? So I go in front, I'll see, okay, it's like this, and then when I touch it, ow, it cuts my hand, and then I see blood. Then I know this is dangerous, yeah? And then my mom said, don't touch it, it's a knife. Then I have more information. Based on my experience, I know a knife cuts my finger. And then I pick up on a knife, and then I start cutting stuff. And then I thought, this can actually be a tool. So I get more information, more ideas, and more knowledge. The more questions I ask, the more I get, yeah? And the more information I pump in, the more answers I get as well. So for this reason, this is how we derive to outcomes. Outcomes such as ideas, learning, our perceptions. Yeah, when we watch the news, this whole process happens all the time. And assumptions, decisions we make, sometimes when we have a decision to make, we go through the same process. We use our internal network of information, and sometimes we read stuff, we learn new information, we pump it in, and therefore those information can facilitate us to derive to our decisions. And it also shapes our attitudes, understanding and evaluation of anything, any situation. So before we get to an outcome, there is always an incubation process. Yeah? So this is how we think and how we generate ideas. Now there are three things you got to remember, three elements. First of all, there is external network of information, and it varies. So that means there is a lot of stuff outside your brain you can collect and pump into your head. And there is internal network of information, which is everything that is inside your head. Yeah? And finally, there's also an internal mental process or internal mental processes, which will turn all that information into outcome. So the processes are the tools. Yeah? It turns the ingredients into something. So now what you got to remember is that your internal network of information, it's unique to you, and your internal kind of a processes is also unique to you, because you started to build and develop this internal network of information since you were you were born until today, yeah? So, and that's why it is unique to you, because you've been experiencing so many different stuff. You've been seeing so many different stuff, and you've been networking with different people. You've born in different families, yeah, around different communities and societies, and that's why it is unique to us all, yeah? Now, what restricts us to generate better outcomes? So now this could be some barriers to generate good outcomes. First of all, maybe sometimes you struggle to generate good ideas because you have limited amount of internal information, and that's why you struggle to generate anything useful, because you lack good ingredients inside. Or you lack any fresh information, because you can always recycle, but you always get the same crap because you always use the same crap, yeah? So another reason, maybe there's a lack of alternative mental model, which is another side. So the first two, it's related to information, but then the later one is related to the way you process information. Maybe the way you usually derive to conclusion, it's not effective, and that's why you never get better outcomes, yeah? And maybe And finally, there is a limitation to the way you process information. Maybe the way you process information is always the logical approach. And that's why you struggle to generate anything creative. Yeah? Now, your box. A lot of people talking about think outside the box, think inside the box. Your box, it's your head. Yeah? Your box, it's your internal network of information. And your box is the internal mental processes. And that is the box. Yeah? Have you heard about thinking outside the box, inside the box? Yeah? I think it's bullcrap. Yeah? Because what is thinking outside the box? Open your head, throw your brain on the table and start thinking? It doesn't work. Come on. What you should do is to make the box bigger. Yeah, that's the better approach. So, now there are 3 strategies, and of course I don't have time to give you all those kind of tools, but I think having those strategies is good enough for you to be creative, to think about your thinking. The first one is reflect. Yeah? What you can do is to think, how do I normally think? Yeah? When I have a problem, how do I normally derive to a solution? When I need to select something, what is the usual process? And I guess what you can do is to get a big piece of paper, identify a scenario, and then you draw out the normal processes that you always go through. After you see it on the paper, then you ask yourself, okay, if I do this and I do this all the time, this is what I get. Can I integrate some kind of an intervention to change the way I normally think? And then you identify a few possibilities, then you try it, you experiment, and then you check the results, see whether it is better or different. Yeah? And then you don't stop, you always try to find better ways to do, to do the same job. And hopefully you learn something by reflecting. So I argue this is the expert mode. Yeah? It's difficult. Think about your thinking and find ways to manipulate it. There are easier ways. So now strategy number 2. You inject more fresh information to stimulate your brain. Because your brain, it's a powerful tool. What you need to do is to integrate and inject a lot of new information. All those new information will be linked to the existing one. Yeah? And hopefully the connection, the internal network will lead you, incubate a lot of ideas and outcomes. It works all the time, trust me, it works. That's why researching is very important. There is no point sitting on a table forcing yourself to generate something, yeah, based on recycling your internal information. And I bet in a lot of your classes, when your lecturers or when your boss, if you work, asks you to give me an idea, I bet some of you will have a paper and then you just sit there, you can't generate anything. And I argue because you don't have anything fresh inside your head. What you can do and should do is to read, to pump in information, research, yeah, get some fresh info. And those info will lead you to ideas. Trust me, it works all the time. Yeah? But then you can do it unconsciously. So what you do is just to read, pump in information, not just reading, observe, try, touch, yeah, talk to people. You can do a lot of stuff, yeah, in terms of generating information. And then your brain will do the job for you. Yeah, because the brain is powerful, but it will use the kind of the usual information processing method. But then what you can do alternatively is to be conscious. Yeah, you consciously manipulate the information.
But will you not just copy something while injecting new information?
What do you mean by copy something?
Let's say if you are injecting new information, then you can just not create something, but copy it, like all the ideas and so on.
Well, it's about learning. Of course, some information can be you can learn from existing stuff. Yeah, but then you have to ask yourself, how can I do better? Yeah. So yes, learning from existing products or existing solution, it's one way. But then you have so much more information you can inject. Yeah. But your aim is not just to copy; it's to learn, and hopefully that learning will lead you to something better. Yeah? But yes, copying, it's one way to learn, because like there's reverse engineering. You buy a product, you take it apart, and then you learn how it is developed and how it is done. Yeah? And then you find ways to make it better. Yeah? Like Samsung's, yeah? Now they create better phones by learning how iPhone is developed. Yeah? But their phones is better. Yeah? Lighter, bigger, less problem. Yeah? Battery, it's a lot better. Yeah? iPhone S is rubbish, the battery. And now, yeah, let me go back to this. So, if you decide not to use the unconscious mind, what you can do is to be more conscious, to manipulate your brain. Then what you need to do is to use brain tools. Yeah? So you can consciously manipulate the way you think and the way you generate outcomes. Yeah? I don't have time to talk to you about brain tools, but if you go to Google, if you type creativity tools or tools to analyze situations, tools to derive to ideas or whatever, or if you get books such as Edward de Bono or whatever, there are actually hundreds of tools and thousands of tools. Or if you go to D-School, yeah, in California, I think it's in Stanford, they have a D-School, which is, you know, a big design school. They have a lot of tools to help people to think, to generate good outcomes. So those are brain tools available to you all to use. Yeah. So those are the 3 strategies you can adopt. So what I don't want you guys to do is to adopt the Homer style to work or to generate outcomes. There was an episode in Simpsons. Homer decided to become an inventor. So then he got some paper, yeah, and then he sat on the table for a day, for 2 days, for 3 days, nothing came out. Yeah, I bet, you know, all that is inside his head was beer and donuts. And that's why he couldn't generate anything useful. Yeah, so I wouldn't recommend you guys just to sit and try. What you should do is to manipulate your brain. First of all, by reflecting, and then create interventions to change the way you usually think, or inject new information. It's so simple. Research, pump in info, read, observe, try, learn. Yeah, and hopefully it will lead you to ideas, or just use some brain tools. It will help you to process those information in better formats, yeah, in better way. Let's try to feel our brain. Yeah. Now, what you gotta do is to design a new cup. No limitations, and you can design anything you want as long as it is a new and better cup. And I bet some of you got a lot of ideas. Some of you found it hard to start. Yeah? Some of you are starting up, you are warming up. Remember, it is normal, because if you are trying to generate ideas, the brain is like a sport. You need to warm it up. So, but one thing you got to remember, there is no perfect starting point. If you wait for that perfect moment, it will never come. You just sit there forever. So what you should do is to write a lot of rubbish, and hopefully it will warm your brain up, and then it will lead you to generate some good ideas. Now I'll give you a stimulant. I'll give you a tool, a brain tool. And hopefully this brain tool will also give you some new information for your head. And hopefully that will stimulate your brain to design a different cup. So now I've got a table, and my students did it this morning. So now what you should do is to select just one number. This is called the attributes technique. So just one number. Got it? Yeah, you're not choosing a wife or husband. Quick. Yeah? Okay, you've got a number. Now your number relates to a word. So now, the next thing you do is to identify 3 to 4 attributes relates to your word. For example, a frog. Attributes would be it's green, it jumps, it's sticky, elastic tongue, and extending tongue. So then what I do is to relate those words to my design. Or let's say another example, a horse. A horse has big teeth, powerful, transportation, racing. Yeah? And if you're a baby, then you have to identify 3 or 4 attributes. Then what you do is to redesign your glass or your cup by linking it to those attributes. Yeah? And I guess my glass or cup, when I throw it on the wall, it sticks. Yeah? Because it relates to a frog. Yeah? So this is what you do. Relate your design to those attributes. So I think it's good, actually. You guys are having fun. Because like being creative, you need to have fun. In order to generate ideas, you can't just sit there like, oh, being all miserable. Yeah? So good. So before I move on, is there anybody here who thinks that you have a really good idea? All of you, huh? So yeah, tell us, what is the word? What is the starting point? What was the word? And then how did you evolve your initial design?
Like we created a cup, which is automatic, like you don't have to lift it. It's like not hot when you drink coffee, and it's stable, and it can like come a cup from like a small piece of paper, and it gets a cube, you know, like a cup. And then we had the word sexy.
Sexy. Oh.
And we thought of how to make it more like attracted to drink out of that cup, yeah?
Yeah.
And we decided that the cup should have lips
Yeah.
on its side, and then when you drink it, you're like kissing.
Actually, that's a good idea. Yeah. Why don't we have it? Yeah, a cup with a lip. You see, powerful tool. Basically, what you created was related to the internal network of information and the internal mental processes. And the outcome was that particular cup that you created. Now, what I did was to give you a particular tool. It's called attributes stimulation. So basically, that tool created a random word for you, and then you had to identify a number of attributes related to that particular object. So those words were the new information that you pumped into your head. And therefore, those words stimulated you to redesign your product, and therefore it led you to an alternative design. So this was a very quick example of how good our brain is. Because what did you do? You looked at a word, and then you broke it into 4 more words, and then those 4 words led you to create better outcomes, better concepts. And I really like the lips cup. Yeah, I think it's excellent. You can really sell a lot of those, especially in Holland. Yeah, it's a good seller. So it's true, I love it. So now this is what happened. So now in summary, yeah, so remember, there is 3 main elements you should remember in the future when you want to manipulate your brain. There is one thing, it varies, and it is the external network of information. Basically, that's anything you can do to learn. Observe, go to the internet, go to YouTube, talk to people, travel the world, or whatever. Pump in new information to your head. And then internal network of information, it is unique to everybody. Yeah, we all have our unique set. And then there is the mental process that will organize and turn all those ingredients into outcomes. And then what you can do to manipulate is to use mental tools, mental processes, yeah, like what we did just now, and pump in new and fresh, relevant information to stimulate your brain. Yeah, this will, trust me, lead you to generate outcomes. Yeah, because our brain is very powerful. Now, before I shut up, remember this one, I think it's very useful. For a lot of people, especially for those who are not experienced in generating ideas, you always expect ideas to be perfect right at the start. But this doesn't happen. Yeah, it will never happen. Perfection is developed. Yeah, perfection doesn't come right at the start. So when you develop ideas, you should accept that ideas starts from being stupid, being general, not being perfect, being very normal or common. And then there will be a development process lead you to perfection. So for this reason, in the future, if you need to generate ideas, if you need to identify your vision, your career, kind of a prospect or whatever, your plan, make sure that you don't expect anything to be perfect right at the start. Yeah, there is always a development process. Yeah, and usually it starts from somewhere simple, somewhere general, somewhere normal. Yeah, accept it. So if you accept it, you will never feel worried or depressed because you don't get perfect ideas right at the start. It doesn't happen. There is a development process. Yeah, so don't say yes, but you know it's not good enough. Yeah, let's forget about it. Remember, there is a development process. Yeah. So now summary. Generating ideas is not about forcing yourself to be creative and hopefully something will come out. You don't need to force yourself. Your brain is very powerful. So what you should do is to be systematic about it, have a plan, have a process, and have a methodology. So it is not a magic. It's not magic, yeah? Generating ideas, being creative. Like what I just showed you, a simple tool, 4 simple words led you to create better outcomes. So if you create a good condition for the way you think, your brain will do the trick, your brain will do the job. It's all about creating the right condition for your brain. Yeah? Pump in info, use brain tools, or reflect, it will do the job. Now finally, I'll share a wisdom with you guys. Yeah, I think this is quite nice. Okay, what's your thoughts? They become words. What's your words? They lead to actions. Then what's your actions? They create habits. What's your habits? They build your character. And finally, what's your character? It becomes your destiny. But if you look at the whole process, it all starts from the thoughts. And that's why thinking, it's very important. And hopefully I gave you 3 good and useful strategies to allow you to think more effectively in the future. And thank you, everyone.